Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Senior Benefits Guide, your trusted source for retirement and benefits news. Today, we're diving into a topic that's generating significant buzz across the country. Recent statements about potential stimulus payments that have been circulating on social media and various news outlets. I know many of you have been reaching out with questions about these claims, particularly regarding statements made about first day executive orders and a possible $1,800 stimulus payment. As someone who's been tracking benefits and stimulus related developments for over 2 decades, I want to help you separate fact from fiction and understand exactly what's being discussed. While there's a lot of excitement around these claims, it's crucial to understand what's actually possible under current legislation and executive authority. This is especially important for those of you who rely on fixed incomes and need accurate information to plan your finances effectively. In today's video, we'll examine these recent statements in detail, break down what executive orders can and cannot do regarding stimulus payments, and most importantly, help you understand what this means for your financial planning. We'll look at the actual proposals being discussed in Washington, the realistic timeline for any potential payments, and what steps you need to take to ensure you're prepared for any developments that may come. Before we dive into these important details, if you find this type of clear, fact-based information helpful, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your engagement helps us reach more seniors who need accurate, timely information about their benefits. Also, share your thoughts and questions in the comments below. Your experiences and concerns help inform our future content and help other members of our community. Now, let's get into the facts about these stimulus payment claims. Let's start by addressing the claims that have been circulating about a potential $1,800 stimulus payment through executive order. Many of you have sent me messages asking about social media posts and articles suggesting this would be one of the first actions taken after Inauguration Day. I understand why these claims have caught your attention. After all, extra financial support will be welcome news for many seniors living on fixed incomes. However, we need to look carefully at what's actually being proposed and what's realistically possible through executive action. First, let me share a story from one of our viewers, Martha from Florida, who reached out to me last week. Like many of you, she saw these claims on social media and was trying to figure out if she should factor this potential payment into her budget planning. Martha's situation is similar to many of our viewers. She relies on her Social Security benefits and has been carefully managing her expenses during these challenging economic times. Her questions help me realize just how important it is to provide clear, accurate information about these claims. When we look at how stimulus payments actually work, it's important to understand that they typically require congressional approval. While executive orders can do many things, they cannot unilaterally create new spending programs or distribute direct payments without congressional authorization. This is a fundamental aspect of our government structure that many of these social media claims don't address. However, this doesn't mean that additional support for seniors is off the table. It just means we need to understand the actual process through which such support could be provided. Let's talk about what actions regarding stimulus payments are actually being discussed in Washington. There are several proposals being debated that could affect seniors' financial situations, though they might look different from what you've seen in viral social media posts. These discussions include potential adjustments to existing benefit programs, targeted support for those on fixed incomes, and various other measures that could provide financial relief to seniors. One aspect that's particularly relevant for our community is how any potential new support would interact with existing benefits. I recently spoke with Bob, another viewer from Arizona, who was concerned about whether accepting any new payments would affect his current benefits. This is a common concern I hear from many of you, and it's important to understand that legitimate stimulus payments typically don't count as income for determining eligibility for other federal benefits programs. Speaking of benefits, let's discuss how current economic conditions are affecting the discussions about additional support for seniors. Many of you have written to me about rising costs for essentials like groceries, medications, and utilities. These real-world challenges are actually driving much of the serious policy discussion in Washington about additional support for seniors, though the solutions being proposed may look different from what you're seeing in viral social media posts. Another important aspect to consider is the timeline for any potential support. Even when Congress does approve stimulus measures, there's typically a processing period before payments are distributed. Remember the previous stimulus payments? Many of you shared your experiences about how the distribution process worked, and those experiences can help us understand what to expect if new support is approved. For example, Linda from Michigan told me about how she received her previous stimulus payment through direct deposit, while her sister, who didn't have direct deposit set up, had to wait several additional weeks for a paper check. Let's also address the question of eligibility that many of you have asked about. In previous stimulus programs, eligibility was primarily based on income levels and tax filing status. However, some of you who didn't file taxes because you rely solely on Social Security benefits were still eligible. This is important to keep in mind as we evaluate any new proposals. Legitimate stimulus programs typically include provisions to ensure that seniors who rely on Social Security can receive payments without jumping through unnecessary hoops. I want to share some practical advice about what you can do while these discussions continue in Washington. First, make sure your direct deposit information is up to date with the Social Security Administration and the IRS. If any new payments are approved, having accurate information on file will help ensure you receive your payment as quickly as possible. Several viewers have thanked me for this advice after previous stimulus rounds, as it helped them avoid delays in receiving their payments. Another important consideration is being alert to potential scams. Unfortunately, whenever there's discussion of new government payments, scammers try to take advantage of the situation. Just last week, Tom from Texas told me about a call he received from someone claiming to be from the government, asking for personal information to process his stimulus payment. Remember, legitimate government agencies won't call you asking for personal information to process stimulus payments. They already have the information they need from your tax returns or Social Security records. Let's take a moment to discuss what you should do if you see more claims about stimulus payments on social media or receive emails about them. It's natural to want to share potentially good news with friends and family, but it's important to verify information before spreading it. I always recommend checking official government websites or reaching out to legitimate organizations that serve seniors for verification. This helps prevent the spread of misinformation that can cause unnecessary confusion and anxiety in our community. Some of you have asked about preparing for possible future support, whether it comes through stimulus payments or other means. While we can't count on specific proposals until they're actually approved, there are steps you can take to ensure you're in the best position to receive any future benefits. This includes keeping your address up to date with the Social Security Administration, maintaining accurate records of your income and expenses, and staying informed about legitimate policy discussions through reliable sources. I also want to address concerns some of you have raised about inflation and how it relates to these discussions about additional support. Many seniors are feeling the impact of rising prices, and this is actually one of the key factors driving discussions about various forms of support for people on fixed incomes. While direct stimulus payments are one potential tool, there are also discussions about other forms of assistance that might be more targeted to address specific challenges seniors are facing. Looking ahead, it's important to understand that while executive orders can't create new stimulus payments, they can influence other policies that affect seniors' financial well-being. These might include changes to how existing programs are administered, efforts to reduce healthcare costs, or initiatives to address other expenses that impact seniors' budgets. While these changes might not generate exciting headlines like $1,800 stimulus checks, they could potentially have meaningful impacts on your daily lives. For those of you who are wondering about the best ways to stay informed about legitimate developments regarding stimulus payments or other forms of support, I recommend focusing on official government sources rather than social media posts. The Social Security Administration's website, usa.gov, and other official government websites provide accurate, up-to-date information about any new benefits or changes to existing programs. While social media can be a good way to stay connected with friends and family, it's not always the most reliable source for information about government benefits. Finally, I want to emphasize that while we should be cautious about claims regarding executive orders and stimulus payments, this doesn't mean you should ignore discussions about potential support for seniors. The key is to stay informed through reliable sources, understand the actual processes through which such support can be provided, and be prepared to take advantage of legitimate opportunities for assistance when they become available. Remember, our goal is to help you make informed decisions based on accurate information, not to chase after every viral claim that circulates on social media.